Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are still working on Romeo and Juliet, and today we get to hear from Mercutio in Act 3, Scene 1. You know what those air quotes mean. So the stuff that has happened up until now, the Capulets and the Montagues hate each other, except for Romeo and Juliet, who met at a party, decided that they were in love and wanted to get married, and got married, I don't know, like 17 hours later. Something like that, in secret. The only people who know that they are married, aside from the two of them, are Friar Lawrence, who is hoping that this marriage might mend some of the fences between the Montagues and the Capulets, and the nurse, who played messenger for Juliet and told her where and when to be there. But the other Montagues and Capulets still hate each other, and we know more about the other Capulets, specifically Tybalt. He had sent a letter as a challenge to Romeo that was intercepted by Mercutio and Benvolio, because Tybalt is really bent out of shape that Romeo and his friends crashed the Capulets' party. So that's what's going on. That's where we are at the end of Act 2. And we start out Act 3 with Benvolio and Mercutio just kind of hanging out. And Benvolio's like, let's just go inside because it's too hot outside and there's Capulets around. And if we get into a fight, we're all going to be in a lot of trouble because remember the prince, who Mercutio is like the prince's cousin or whatever. So remember that relationship exists. He's like, if we get caught fighting again, then the prince is going to punish all of us because he said, one more strike and you're out, that kind of thing. And Mercutio is like, you're telling me to avoid fighting? Really? And Benvolio's like, what? I'm not. And Mercutio was like, you are the first one to get into any sort of fight. And Benvolio's like, really? No, you don't think of me as that guy, do you? And Mercutio says, nay, and there were two such. We should have none shortly, for one would kill the other. Thou? Why, thou wilt quarrel with a man that hath a hair more or a hair less in his beard than thou hast. Thou wilt quarrel with a man for cracking nuts, having no other reason but because thou hast hazel eyes. What eye but such an eye would spy out such a quarrel? Thy head is as full of quarrels as an egg is full of meat, and yet thy head hath been beaten as addle as an egg for quarreling. Thou hast quarrelled with a man for coughing in the street, because he hath wakened thy dog that hath lain asleep in the sun. Didst thou not fall out with a tailor for wearing his new doublet before Easter? With another for tying his new shoes with old riband, and yet thou wilt tutor me from quarreling. So Mercutio here is just giving Benvolio crap because he starts fights, is what he's saying, which is interesting because it was Benvolio in Act 1, Scene 1 that tried to de-escalate everything. But anyway, we'll let that sit over here for right now. But that's all this is. Mercutio is giving Benvolio crap, saying that Benvolio will start a fight over just about anything, and usually about nothing, and about stuff that doesn't even need to be fought about. He will start fights because that's what he likes to do, and Benvolio's like, nah. So they have a little bit more back and forth, but then Tybalt comes in, and Tybalt wants to know where Romeo is, because remember he had sort of issued a challenge, so now he's come out looking for Romeo. But of course Mercutio and Benvolio don't want to give away where their friend is, so Mercutio at this point starts picking a fight with Tybalt, and he's there's some wordplay, there's a little bit of back and forth as Mercutio pushes all of Tybalt's buttons, until finally Romeo comes in. Romeo doesn't know that this is going on. He got married like an hour ago, and he's going home because he can't go on his honeymoon yet, because the only way he's going to be able to sleep with his wife is to sneak up a ladder in the middle of the night into her bedroom, because nobody knows that they're married yet. So he's walking around, I guess, looking for his friends, and he comes into this and he sees Tybalt there, and Tybalt's like, Romeo, you are a villain. And Romeo's like, hey, because I love you, I'm just going to let that slide. And Tybalt's like, what do you mean you love me? We're enemies. And Romeo's like, I have reasons, and I don't want to fight you because of those reasons. And we, the audience, know that those reasons are because Romeo is married and Tybalt is Juliet's cousin. He doesn't want to kill his wife's cousin. He doesn't want to fight with his wife's cousin. They're all family now, so he wants everybody to be able to get along. But the more he tries to back away from it, the more insistent Tybalt becomes, and the more insistent Mercutio becomes, until Mercutio challenges Tybalt to a fight, and the two of them start dueling. And of course, when this was written, it was swords that they were dueling with. You'll see lots of modern interpretations now where they make it guns, and that makes it a little bit weirder, but whatever. At some point in the middle of the fight, Romeo jumps in between them and is like, stop fighting, you two. But him physically getting in between them means that he blocks Mercutio's view, and Tybalt is able to stab Mercutio sort of like right under Romeo's arm. The sword goes there and it hits Mercutio, and it hits him really well or really badly, depending on how you want to, which side of it you're looking at it from. Tybalt at this point runs away with his whole crew, and Mercutio is like, this is a mortal wound. I'm dead now. A pox on both of you. He's furious because he's gotten killed, because he got into this fight, and he's angry with Romeo. He's like, why did you stand in between us? It's because you jumped in between us that I got stabbed, because I couldn't see what was going on. And Romeo's like, I thought it was going to make it better. I didn't know. And Benvolio takes Mercutio off, and he's still cursing both the Montague and the Capulet houses. And Romeo's like, this is really, really bad. And then Benvolio comes back in and he's like, Mercutio is dead. And Romeo is now furious. And then Tybalt comes back and Romeo's like, you know, one or the other of us has to go with Mercutio because this is not okay. So the two of them start fighting, and Romeo kills Tybalt. And Benvolio is like, oh, you have to run away now. You have to run away now because you just killed Tybalt. You have to run away now. And he gets Romeo to run away just as like the entire city comes to find out what was going on. So all sorts of citizens come, the Capulet parents, the Montague parents, the prince, all sorts of people rush in, and they see the dead body of Tybalt. And we will hear more about that in tomorrow's monologue. So I will see you then for that. This was a comedy until today, and now there's two people dead in one scene. It was a comedy until today. I'll see you tomorrow for more.